Welcome back to the Spring Promotion Tournament. We are just about to kick off our second series of the day, but first, let's take a look at what you've been saying over on Twitter. To remind you, earlier we asked which Challenger Series player could have the biggest impact in either the EU or NA, LCS, and why. And here's what you've been writing in with. @SaberWolf says, Keen got everyone believing yesterday, and I'm sure he can go on to create more spectacles like the mid lane horse.
Yeah, I definitely think Keen's probably the hardest working player I've ever been around. Before relegations, he was on a schedule where he was playing 20 games a day. Like, it's incredible to play that many games every single day, including scrims. So, yeah, I think he's working really hard. He's pulled out the mid-heck room. I think he just invented that, like, pretty much out of nowhere. And I think he's going to pull out a bunch of more stuff that people aren't used to.
That's ludicrous. I can't imagine playing 20 games in a singular day. Our next tweet comes from @Conan Gwanda. Kickus. He was able to bring a solo queue team into the LCS into an LCS contender this split.
I mean, I guess he still has that solo queue mentality with the Fizz jungle, something you barely see in LCS. Love the pick. Honestly, I'm going to be trying it myself. I'm going to be hoping I can do the same thing he did. So kudos to him.
I'm willing to bet all three of us are going to go home and try Fizz jungle straight away. And then our final tweet @ODigitDoll. LOL Pros Haunter. That guy is a god, and I feel he isn't given enough credit compared to the more popular players.
Yeah, I think he's the unsung hero of LoL Pro. He always puts so much pressure, but he doesn't really do it in a flashy way. I mean, I guess he did have that solo kill Nidalee against Lulu versus Rux in the promotion matches.
At level 1.
Yeah, at level 1, which was like pretty insane. But generally speaking, he just creates a lot of pressure. His favorite champion, Shyvana, and he's always proxying, drawing people to him, and creating opportunities from his team on the other side of the map.
It's also nice to see a top laner recognized for their flashy play, as sometimes those matchups can get a little stagnant. Well, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts, and if you want to join the conversation, tweet @LolEsports and use the hashtag LCS. But before we get into the second series, I'd also like to get you guys' thoughts on the matchup itself. EG versus Team Coast.
Well, EG is a team that at the last week of the regular LCS season, they managed to pull off an incredible comeback 4-0. Unfortunately, their LCS spot in playoffs was not only dictated by their result, and other teams had to lose, and that didn't happen. So they got relegated.
One of those teams happens to be sitting right next to us.
Yeah, so they got relegated. And what happens is they really put a lot of work into that last week, and I'm sure they're doing the same thing to get into the LCS for next split. So I would not be surprised if they make it out of this match and happen to be very much stronger than what they were last split in the actual LCS season. Now, going into it, I'd be expecting them to 3-0 Coast, just because Coast did a very recent roster change in which they replaced Rux and Golden Glue with Miracle and Ringer, two Korean players, two solo Korean players. Now that has to take a toll on your synergy, and you just can't compete with that with a team like EG that's already focusing a lot to work on how they work as a team.
Yeah, very interesting to kind of take that, go for maybe individual skill over that synergy. Dominate, as we mentioned, you were on the team that did have to lose in order for EG to snag that playoff spot. So you probably have a very good sense of the strength of that team going into the final weeks of the LCS.
Yeah, I definitely have a really good sense, especially since we played them in the second to last week of LCS, and they just completely rocked us. Like, it was like 23-2. It was one of the most brutal matches we played this season. So I think that they're a very strong team, and they've been consistent. They kept the same lineup. And I think that they're really peaking right now. I've got to see some of their scrims, and they look really solid. So I side with Crumbs here. I think it's going to be a 3-0 EG.
All right. A lot of power behind EG there. Well, without further ado, we're going to send it right over to the caster desk to get us back into the games.
Thanks, Dash. Hello, I'm Max Atlas Anderson, and manning the co-caster chair is Jake Spawn Tiberi. And let us get down to business to defeat the Huns with our second best-of-5 series, Evil Geniuses versus Team Coast. This is the third consecutive split that both of these teams have played in the promotion tournament, and for Evil Geniuses, they had a late season surge to nearly avoid relegation altogether.
Exactly right, Atlas. Evil Geniuses made a couple of roster swaps in the summer split, bringing on Oltek as AD carry and then adding Helios in the jungle. The lineup changes took time to take effect, but by the end of the regular season, EG were on a hot streak, winning 6 of their last 8 games and almost clenching a playoff spot. That being said, the team has struggled with some personnel issues and tension within the team.
Yeah, and while EG's fighting to hold on to their spot, Coast is looking to regain their place in the LCS after they were defeated by Complexity. Since then, the team has undergone a complete roster shakeup. But they have a couple of players, Sheep and Mash, and of course Helios as well over from Korea, that have played on the big stage and will be playing hard to get back there.
And the changes didn't stop there. Coast brought on 2 Korean players, Miracle and Ringer. The team felt confident that their bottom lane could go toe-to-toe with Alltech and Crepo, but they wanted to shore up their solo lanes. That being said, this is of course a team sport, and there has to be an adjustment period whilst this roster swap has gone through, and it may not immediately yield results. We'll have to see if the team's limited time playing together is enough to develop the communication, as well as the synergy required to get them into the LCS.
And Coast has brought in new solo laners to help give them an early edge in the game, but it has the added bonus of making it harder for Evil Geniuses to know what to expect in this series.
We're playing Team Coast. They've recently changed 2 of their players to Korean solo queue superstars. So I'm very eager to see which Coast will show up.
We decided to bring 2 Koreans into our team because we felt like EG is a really strong team that has really good laning phases, and we feel like those 2 Koreans are really good in the earlier stages.
I think Sheep and Domashmi, they're pretty consistent, but if they ever fall behind, then I'll always be like ahead of them, and I should be able to make the first move.
Not falling behind in bot lane is really important because it's a duo lane. If you fall behind at any point, you'll probably be punished really hard.
Looking at the season, our results weren't all too good, but if we go look at the end of the season, a lot of teams were scared of playing us, and we ended up super weak in 4-0. If we can repeat that same performance, I think we'll definitely have the leg up against Coast.
So EG looking confident coming into this one, and Coast pretty happy with their Korean pickups in the top and mid lane. But let's check out our starting lineups. On the blue side, it's Evil Geniuses with Inox in the top lane, Helios in the jungle, Pobelter in the mid lane, Altec as AD carry, and Crepo on support.
And of course on the red side it's Team Coast. Miracle in top lane, Santorin in the jungle, Ringer mid, Mash in AD carry, and Sheep as support.
And for this featured matchup, we'll be heading to the south side of the map for Altec and Crepo versus Mash and Sheep.
And we saw from that video how confident they are. Altec has become a rising star in the North American LCS this split. Despite missing a game, he had the 2nd most kills in the season with 133. Only 7 kills behind the leader Vasily. He is an incredibly strong mechanical player. You'll often see Altec continue to deal damage while retreating, kiting back in that bottom lane. Since he's joined Evil Geniuses, Altec has pulled Crepo into a more aggressive playstyle. However, that's kind of the opposite of how Coast bottom lane works. Mash and Sheep are quite passive, and they're content to sit back and farm, and this allows Sheep to become more of a lane bully than what Mash is. They're an evenly matched bot lane, and whoever gets ahead in the laning phase may be able to go on to dictate the pace of the rest of the game.
Yeah, and we'll see whether they manage to do that. And of course, another thing we'd like to highlight as well is Santorin versus Helios. I mean, Helios coming over from Korea, of course, and since he got into EG, they've had a few communication issues, but I've heard just recently that they've managed to tie those up, and there's a lot more synergy throughout the jungle as well, and I think that'll really help create a lot more plays around the map.
Yeah, from what we've heard, Helios has really shored it up with his top and mid lane, which just gives them an extra bonus across the top side of the map, of course, with the 2 new Koreans coming on the side of Coast. He also picks up champions like Eve still, which gives a lot of implied pressure without necessarily having to show himself.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we'll see whether he can make the plays around the map. Of course, Pobelter, with so many different champions he can pick up, they can create so many different duos in that mid lane as far as the jungle and mid duo is concerned. And we saw the last best of 5. These duos in the mid lane, as far as ganks are concerned, are really, really important. Yeah,
jungle mid lane synergy at the moment, with all the assassins coming through on this patch, is so important. And as we said, the solo laners on the side of EG especially can play anything. Pobelter plays anything, and in the top lane, Inox picked 14 different champions this split.
Yeah, out of 28 different games as well, so that's ridiculous, of course. I remember Inox back when he was on Napkins in Disguise playing Nidalee in almost every single game. Incredible stuff to see, but bans are coming through thick and fast. Nunu being taken off the board, as well as Zillion on the side of Evil Geniuses, and Zed and Nidalee taken away by Team Coast. Of course, fairly standard across the board so far.
Yeah, it looks like they definitely want to get rid of the assassin in the mid lane for Pobelter, and of course Nidalee in the top lane. Nunu, Zillion, they're more the standard picks as well, bans, as well as Alistair. So it looks like they don't know much about Coast's 2 new players as well. So they've just gone for what are known as the OPs at the moment, get them off the board, and Ryze has been taken away as well.
Ryze, not necessarily as common, but very, very strong there in the top lane, and Inox more than happy to play that one. And I guess maybe they're going for more of like a Yasuo type comp and don't want to have that Ryze being able to be picked up to potentially counter that one out. But Inox now, with first pick potential, and Maokai's up, they could just pick the tree up right now.
Yeah, Maokai can definitely be picked up at the moment. We've seen that he's had great success. If you get him through laning phase into mid-game, he just becomes unkillable. However, it is Lucian. That nice flex pick can go into the mid lane, can go for AD as well. We see it a lot more AD in North America.
Yeah, that's very true. But with Lucian escaping the pick and ban phase, they pick it up first, so they take it away from Mashme, because Mash, he had 100% record on that champion over 7 games. So definitely worthwhile taking it away, but it does give up that Maokai like we were talking about before.
Yeah, and that has been picked up straight away for Miracle in the top lane. As well as wow, Sheep's got Thresh also, and we have to mention he is amazing on this character.
It's so true, and it picks it away from Crepo as well. Crepo, one of the first players to really gain mastery on that champion. It was sort of Edward first, and then Crepo sort of took it away from him and tried to get in there with that one. So we'll see whether he makes it work. Of course, Sheep, fantastic on that Thresh. And Helios now and Pobelter ready to pick up their next couple of picks. Of course, a lot of strong champions still available. Syndra's there, Pobelter wants to play that. Of course, very, very contested pick in that mid lane. We'll see what they decide to go with.
And I love the ambiguity of Coast's lineup so far. They've given nothing away. It could be a team fight comp, it could be a pick comp. As we see Helios pick up Lee Sin. He's fantastic. That's such an exciting champion. Gets to really show his early game aggression. And he can start invading the jungle of Santorin very early.
And this is a man that would have been learning Lee Sin off the likes of Insec as well over in Korea. So this is going to be very exciting to see. Of course, Inox with that Lulu in the top lane, the lane bully, more than happy to go against this this tree up there. Of course, once Maokai gets really tanky, it's a bit difficult to push him out of lane, but in the early stages, of course, Inox is going to have a fine time there. Hover on the Galio, not entirely sure whether that one's going to be picked up, but Twitch available as well. And Jax would be interesting. Let's just not talk about it.
Yeah, the advantage that Lulu has over Maokai in the early game is being able to push him in the turret and make him expend mana to farm that CS up. As we see that the Kazakhs come through in the jungle for Santorin, and Mash has got Tristana, and we've seen Tristana in the last couple of days completely wrecked.
And Tristana waiting for the 4th pick here as well. So getting through a couple of rounds here for Team Coast, and Mash being able to pick up that very strong AD carry. And it doesn't really matter because, of course, Lucian was already picked up. You would have thought if they were going to go for that double AD carry theory, they could have picked it up in the 2nd round, maybe taken away that Tristana as well, but that is not what EG is going to be looking for. Crepo looking at the Braum now as well, and that's going to be instantly locked in. Ari as well. And we saw Ari having a better game yesterday, not working out so well for the players picking her up, but Nick having a fantastic game today.
Yeah, and EG have got a pretty alright pick comp during the mid game. If you look on the side of Coast, their late game is petrifying. So EG is recognized with the last 2 pickups that they need to get ahead early. They need to start bullying these lanes and really dictate the flow of the game. Otherwise, it could turn ugly. Oriana's being picked up on the side of Team Coast. They have a fantastic late game team fight comp.
Oh, they certainly do. And of course, that Twisted Advanced Shockwave combination coming in there as well. That's going to be so hard to deal with. So many ways to get that ball into these team fights as well. So I think it'll be on Helios to really kick people away. Although he can't do that if Twisted Advance comes in because, of course, not going to be able to target him. So we'll see whether they manage to do it. And you're exactly right. EG need to put the pressure on instantly. And Helios on Lee Sin, I think that he might be able to do this.
Yeah, looking at Team Coast's lineup, it's like that EG didn't ban anything. They've got so many good champions at the moment. If this game goes over 35 minutes and it hasn't swung so far into EG's favor, they're in a lot of trouble. That team fight comp that can come out with all the shields that can go into Trist, as well as the ability for Maokai to mitigate so much damage, that's just petrifying.
It is so true. But as the teams load onto the Rift, let's check out the voting over at lolesports.com. Right now, 76% of you say Evil Geniuses will win, but after seeing those team comps, I have a feeling that maybe that'll swing. We'll see.
But we're also looking for your votes over on Twitter as well. Tweet hashtag EGWin or hashtag CSTWin to @LOLEsports, and we'll continue to update you on the fan votes.
And yeah, exactly. And the thing is, Thresh and Tristana against arguably a very strong lane in Lucian and Braum, but if Thresh and Tristana get it like through this early game, it's going to be so difficult for EG to come back there because we've seen what Tristana can do
And more importantly, if they successfully lane swap this and are able to get the Trista head in levels, her range just makes sieging so easy and they can't engage onto them.
That is very true. But we are onto the Rift, everyone, with EG taking on Team Coast. EG on the blue side, and of course, Coast wearing the red pants on our red side. And we'll see what they decide to do, whether any early shenanigans do go on. Of course, EG wanting to get a bit of an early lead in this one. But we'll see whether they manage to do it in the level 1 phase or whether things are going to be a bit defensive.
Yeah, and we definitely have seen some interesting level 1s today. As we see, the whole of Coast are grouped up as 5.
Welcome to Summoner's
Might be looking for
everyone.
pressure over onto the blue side.
Sonic Wave not going to deter Sheep at all. Helio's able to walk out of there. I don't think Death Sentence is going to be able to pick him up on this one, but Coast commanding control the blue side jungle of EG.
And the respect that's coming out of from EG of the pickup there on support for Sheep.
Yeah.
Thresh is just so high at the moment. We see that they've just rotated automatically over to the blue side. They might just start the bottom side of the jungle, look to pick up Helios as 2 buffs on that side, and just accept the lane swap at this point.
Yeah, they've done a lot of warding. There are some backs coming through. Inox happy just to sit up there in the top lane. He doesn't want to have anything to do with an invade. And looks to me like EG are more than happy to go for a trade here. But with everyone leaving from Coast, do you think that they might catch them out? No, looks like they've just warded. It's fine.
Yeah, they're about to move back up to the blue side. The whole of Coast team has gone back, so standard lanes will be coming through, although Maokai is grouping back up as well. Maybe looking to scout whether a lane swap will come through from the side of EG. However, Inox has just been spotted by a ward.
Ooh, that could have been a potential interesting situation there for Coast, because they did face check that brush, and if EG was still there, things could happen. But, of course, no one actually going to find anyone yet.
So a lot of
standard lanes are going to happen after some really weird jungle movements here. And it's going to be a blue buff start for both of these junglers as well.
So they'll end up on the opposite sides of the map, and it looks like EG might be looking for some early game aggression. Nope, just walking into lane now. And completely standard. So a lot of action, a lot of movement, but absolutely no result this early in the game.
Yeah, a lot of potential action. Like on the edge of my seat, awaiting nothing. There is a bit of action going on in the bottom lane though. Wow. Nice play going to come through onto Altec. He takes half of his health already. Mash nicely auto-attacking through, and that explosive shot doing a lot of work as well. That dot nullifying a bit of that potion.
And we said Evil Genius's bot lane was the aggressive one, and we see straight away this Thresh Tristana lane just goes aggro level 1, does so much damage. As we see Helios able to pick up his buff, he's going to remain so healthy through the jungle. Lee Sin, even with the changes, jungle absolutely fine.
See both of our junglers meeting us. Oh, Charm's going to land in the mid lane, but level 2. Not going to be doing too much, but Ringer going to take a bit from that one. He knows Cobelter means business.
Yeah, and the way we've seen Ahri played successfully is where you push out your lane and then you wait for picks at level 6. So you move to the side of the river, you look to see if any lanes are available, you look to pick off your mid lane as well. So look for Cobelter to keep pushing, keep farming up a storm, pick up that DFG and try and burst people down.
See whether he does manage to do that, of course. Nice Orb of Deception, going to do a bit of damage there. I think Ringer a little bit slow on the old Command Protect, but he's Orianna. He's going to be okay in this lane. Has a couple of potions there as well. And again, Pobelts are really putting the pressure down, and Helios now coming through to have a look whether something can happen. He's going to say, no, it's not, but I was here. I was here, Pobelts. Don't say that I ain't ganking.
Yeah, he's looking for a move down the bottom side of the map though, but there is a ward there. Maybe even looking for a little bit of an invade onto the bottom side of Santorin's jungle, but no, he's just retreated, looking to go back to his double golem, so nothing much happening there.
Might have been waiting for Santorin to come out, maybe poke his head through. Figures he likes the 1v1. Of course, very difficult against the Kazakhs with that isolation. Nice piercing light coming through from Altec. And the Winter's Bite threading through the minions as well. Crepo on this Braum.
Yeah, so a lot of poke damage coming out of EG's bottom lane. And again, wow, Mash has just taken so much damage.
Yeah, and after a really, really good level 1 play, Coast pushed in again, and Altec with a massive, well, not a massive, but a health lead. Oh, nice. Another charm going to land as well. Ringer taking a lot of damage here. Pobelter still has that ignite. If he lands another charm, you could imagine that Ringer's going to potentially go down here.
Yeah, so both mid laners have no potions left. However, Ringer also out of mana, so he can't fight back whatsoever at the moment. Pobelter really dictating the flow of this lane.
Yeah, landing the Foxfires as well. Of course, they are going to prioritize Ringer. They do come out and are in range. Yeah, so much pressure, and Santorin not really finding his way into a gankable position on this RE. Of course, pre-level 6, a lot easier to gank. Lands another Orb of Deception for the double hit as well. The true damage coming back.
However, in the top lane, we must say Miracle's doing very well at the start of this game.
Yeah.
Up in CS, it's pretty much equal. However, on a range versus melee, as there is some action in the bot, that's big props to the new player on the side of Coast, holding his own very nicely.
Yeah, and not even getting shoved in, of course. This is something that we've been talking about quite a bit, is the fact that Lulu likes to shove that lane as much as possible, force you to farm under the tower. As we do have a Winter's Bite. Hitting Sheep in the back of the head. He's going to be okay as well.
Yeah, so the reason that Lulu likes to shove the lane in is because that means that Maokai cannot engage at all, and with the speed up and the shields that come through, quite a difficult lane, particularly with summoners up. And there's so much creep aggro that can come through. So we can see Inox trying to shove up that lane, unfortunately missing a couple of CS there. But he'll be fine, he's farming up quite nicely as well.
Yep. Oh, there's actually a stand behind me onto the creep here by Crepo. Takes half of his health though in response. Oh, Death Sentence going to land on Altec though. This could mean business, but no, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, so very passive laning so far. The junglers also clash, but not much happening down there either. Standard farming so far, and you have to say, if the mid lane keeps going this way, this is just going to fall straight into EG's hands because it's going to allow Pobelter's roam to come out that much earlier.
See whether he does manage to do that, of course. Has been back, has picked up a second Doran's Ring for that early game pressure. Has a 10 CS advantage here as well. Just an Amp Tomb sitting there as well, so lots of wards. And as Ari, this is exactly what you want to do. He's got a defensive pink ward there. He can put in that brush, and he has the vision, which means he can make those picks.
Yeah, and he wants to be roaming up and down river as soon as he has that level 6. So yeah, he's just looking for picks wherever he possibly can at the moment. However, Tristana, Mash doing perfectly fine in this bottom lane. If this gets to the late game, oh, the bottom lane combo is so scary out of Sheep and Mash. They're just such good players.
Yeah, I feel like they have to make use of Altec's earlier power spike in order to really get this one to work out, but see whether it is going to be enough and whether Altec actually switches up his build a little bit instead of going that Infinity Edge, maybe picking up something with a little bit more early damage.
Yeah, so perfectly equal here. Both mid laners will be looking to pick up their blue buffs. First Dragon hasn't even been looked at, of course. With solo lanes, we tend to see that around the 10-minute mark.
Yeah, it looks like both of these teams just sussing each other out here in the first game of the best of 5. Nothing really needs to be put on the line here just yet. They're just working out, seeing where they're comfortable, testing the waters, finding potential weaknesses.
Yeah, they certainly are, and we see that Santorin has gone with the W evolve first, so he's got that bonus slow on those Void Spikes. So his gank potential is so much higher right now, and of course Helios picking up that ultimate on Lee Sin. He's going to be able to start getting action going soon as well, so let's look for the junglers to start getting involved.
Yeah, EG putting down a lot of hurt here in the bottom lane as well. Managing to stand behind these creeps so that Death Sentence isn't going to be too much of a problem. But both of these AD carries on about half health, and Altec quite low on mana.
Yeah, so using those Lucian abilities to spam, push out the wave, looking to get any advantage you can under the turret. Of course, it is a little bit harder on Tristana, who is falling quite low, to CS under the turret with that explosive shot, as we see another light slinger come through.
Yep, Inox has managed to push this one up as well. Miracle isn't going to have too much trouble farming under this wave. Well, it does miss a couple, but not going to be too bad at all.
Okay, so we see that it is around about the 8.5-minute mark. They're moving towards Dragon. They're going to be able to pick up a pink ward for their troubles, looking to get some position on this bottom lane.
It's going to survive another day.
This might be the first gank, although the collapse is coming in from Coast.
Yeah, they do have wards there. They're going to have to get out of this one as soon as possible. Buster shots available and the box.
They've been pincered. This might be dangerous.
Yep, Santorin. Oh, does manage to land the double slow, but a nice charm's going to land onto Ringer. There's Helios coming in. A nice shockwave comes down, but Ringer's still going to die. The leap onto the Dark Passage in order to get him out. Forces a flash at the same time. Sheep gets knocked up. That's the ultimate from Brom. Crepo's doing a lot of work. Inox has come in from the backside. Miracle is here as well, but immediately exhausted. There's the wild growth onto Pobelter. They want to get some more action. Santorin, one more auto attack from Inox is going to make this one happen. Miracle now solo piercing light. Crepo with the Winter's Bite.
And they're not done yet. Helios has gone over the wall.
Mash, can I have to walk out of this brush and look at the health bars here? They are in so much trouble under this turret is Team Coast. This could almost be a potential 5 kill.
Wow,
Mash manages to come in and get the kill, but he's going to die to Inox. Picking up a kill, though, in this situation is definitely worth it because I didn't think they were going anywhere.
Yeah, and EG has stuck around for a very long time, so they need to send all their members back, which could spell... No, they're not going for Dragon whatsoever. Santorin's too low. He needs to go back. And wow, let's take another look at that. So it looks like they're getting collapsed on right now. However, Pobelter just gets so much damage out. A good shockwave comes through, but the early teleport from Inox really sets the pace for this. He's in there already, doing so much damage. Crapo's ultimate knocks Sheep up, and only now does Miracle decide to join the fight. And unfortunately gets exhausted straight away, can't get any of his damage down. And look at Pobelter's damage this early in the game. His Orbs of Deception have been on point.
I don't think he missed a skill shot in that team fight. That was absolutely incredible. Crapo landing the Winter's Bite to secure that last kill as well, but...
And this is where we see Helios try and flank around, and Mash sees that he is caught in a bad position. He's just going for a kill at this point, able to pick up Ultec, but unfortunately he gets killed by Inox, able to pick up a flash. So.
Unfortunately, not quite able to make it back over that wall again, which may have saved his life. But that Buster shot, securing the 1-for-1 in a situation that looked incredibly dire. Ooh, the Descent's going to land onto Helios. Oh, Sheep coming in there as well. There's the Shockwave on top of 2 members. EG is still looking okay, but Mash immediately getting kicked back. And Coast had a really nice idea, but not quite the damage to be able to pull it off.
Yeah, but now they're looking to do a Dragon. As we say, there is some trading in the top lane. Inox getting a lot better of the trade there.
Does have a lot more consistent damage. That pick's offering a little bit more on those auto attacks. And tries to outrun the Sapling. We'll never know whether it hit.
The reflexes from Helios with that Lee Sin kick were amazing. As soon as Mash jumped in, he was just booted right back out. Didn't want anything to do with that fight after a really nice shockwave coming out of Ringer.
And Pobelter been incredible in this middle lane. Almost has the middle lane turret as well, so that's going to really open the map up for them if he continues to keep pushing this lane in. Of course, Orianna has a lot of the ability to push away with that dissonance as well as that command attack, and has been staying up with that farm at the same time. But 1-0-2 now, in comparison to the 0-1-0, is going to mean that Pobelter's they're way ahead at this stage of the game.
Yeah, and without any hard CC coming from the mid lane or the jungler, he can just dash out of that Orianna ult, so he doesn't feel like he's afraid of ganks whatsoever, and he's just continually pushing this lane, trying to deny CS. Takes a nice turret shot there for his trouble, but that lane hasn't got much left on it.
Yeah, Baltak is going to be able to push this wave up to the turret as well. On half health. Right here, Mash has found his way back in, and that Winter's Bite actually doing a fair bit of damage here.
Yeah, and another turret on very low health on the side of Coast. They might be losing 2 right now, and this is just leading into what we said. If EG to win this game, they need to win the mid game quite hard, and it looks like they are setting up the recipe to do that. Already nearly a 3,000 gold lead.
Yeah, they definitely have a plan coming into this one. They want to push out the waves, they want to create the map control, and then pressure Coast.
And they are looking for a pick right now. Great command attack to scout that out.
Fantastic.
They will be
everyone still thinking that EG is going to win this one. 76% to 24%. So Coast, scary lineup. Ooh, Inox actually in a lot of trouble. Will most likely be able to make it back to his turret, but a nice arcane smash. It's him in the backside on his way through. But Miracle asserting his dominance.
Yeah. Saving that ultimate, however, so he wasn't in much danger. Good work from Miracle there to not dive the turret. However, he will get some nice damage down, and both teleports are about to come back off cooldown. Inox's will be a little bit earlier because he was in that fight maybe 20 seconds beforehand. And this could spell the start of a dragon, although...
Ooh, Miracle's actually coming down just to back. Okay, thought he might have been giving Helios a hard time for that blue buff, but not going to be the case. And I think actually Pobelter didn't get that blue. Quite interesting.
We see that Coast is actually set up extremely well for this dragon, dropping 2 pink wards, denying complete vision, although EG know they're around the pit because they have good control of the bottom half of the jungle. However, the actual dragon pit itself is blind, so they can just do this, although Helios now can scout it out.
Yep, Sheep does get caught there by that Sonic Wave. Crepo going to try and finish off this pink ward, but is the steal going to come through? Helios with that resonating strike could do it, but they wait that one out. Oh, there's the teleport. It's up way earlier, but there's only hitting one with the shockwave. Pobelter's got exhausted. We'll see whether he can get the damage down. Sheep now. There's the Sonic Wave resonating strike as well. Helios right into the back line. Of course, Pobelter goes down, but he manages to get a lot of work done at the same time. Miracle now. He's going to get sorted out, and EG... what a fight.
Triple kill for Helios there, and this is going to lead to even more pressure around the map. While that was happening, Inox picked up the top turret as well, able to teleport into the fight. Didn't pick up Dragon, but this will mean pressure in the mid lane.
Yeah, 7 kills to 2 now, and of course, look at the turret advantage. 3-0. This inner turret's going to go down. It's going to be 4-0, and this is precisely the early game that EG wanted.
And this is a problem with picking a lot of late game scaling champions during these early game fights. You don't necessarily have the power. Lee Sin is just demanding the flow of this game. He's everywhere, it seems, at the moment. The only mistake was not picking up the Dragon, but 3 kills, wow, that certainly makes up for it.
It certainly does, of course.
So we see the replay here. Helios wants to steal this Dragon, tries to get in there, and the teleport comes in from Inox nice and early. The engage from Prepper was great, and as you said, that shockwave only hitting one person. The whole team goes on Pobelter right now, and Helios down the bottom of the map is just able to clean up. Pobelter goes down to Mash. He's out of the fight, but by then it's a 3-for-1 trade, and so much pressure over the map. With the Dragon, it might appear to be equal, but with the way these comps work, funneling gold onto the carries is just meaning that there's so much more potential to pick off individual members of Coast.
Not to mention the fact that EG could then rotate to the mid lane, pick up that inner turret, and they have opened the entire jungle of Coast to EG so that they can put wards in there. You can see already, look at the blue littering the red side jungle there of Team Coast.
Yeah, and you can see from the wards that the next priority target may be this top lane. Try and get that pushed in. They've got so much vision, as we see Alto picking up the red buff for himself.
Yeah, Helios already having one as well, rotating up, picking that one, stealing it away from Team Coast after taking that turret. So EG have the Vice Grips activated.
And wow, Inox quietly composing himself a very nice game. 2-0-4 and a 20 CS lead in that top lane.
Yeah, we saw Miracle actually pressuring him there a little bit, but picking up those early kills has given him a bit of an advantage in this top lane. So whether they can make it through, of course, Coast still have them on a timer. Their team comp is still fantastic if they make it to that late game, but so far with 0 pressure on this map, it's looking pretty difficult for them. They have to put their turtle shell on very, very tightly.
As we can see, they're now pushing into another tier 2 in the top lane. That will be thwarted, but that turret is already below half health. And there's just a split pushing Pobelter in the bottom lane. Who can deal with him at the moment? He's got his DFG.
Yeah, no one's going to be able to 1v1 him. He's going to be able to explode anyone on this map. And that's half health in the bottom turret as well. And Mash still in base. He's going to come down, try and clear this one out, but that's almost finished.
But if he gets too close, he's in real danger right here. There's another wave. And wow, this is really bad news for Coast.
It really is. This top wave is going to be able to take that turret. The top wave including the entirety of EG apart from Pobelter. And this bottom inner turret, the last inner turret on the map. It's only 17.5 minutes in this game.
And Pobelter sweeps that brush. He knows that Mash can't see him there. He's backed away just enough. Looking for a pick on the AD carry. He just decides that no, he's going to push the wave back into the turret. Getting nice objective focus here. And all right, the rotation is coming down into the bottom lane. They will be able to pick themselves up another blue buff as well. So complete jungle control, as well as a turret.
I'm not sure Coast has got one of their even small camps in the last few minutes of this game. EG just starving them out here.
They're exactly right, completely starved.
Pobelter trying.
Holtec drags the wolves into Pobelter.
A little bit cute.
All right.
Infinity Edge has been finished by Mash. It's a little bit of a power spike coming through from Tristana. Has been finished up on the other side here by Altec at the same time.
So the good news for Coast here is that all the outer turrets are down. That's the maximum amount of bleeding that EG can inflict without getting into the base. However, the bad news is now they can start baiting Barons.
Yes.
And with a fed Ahri, with a fed Lulu as well.
Not to mention Lee Sin. Helios is a monster at the moment.
They've just got so much pick potential, and look at how dark that part of the map is on the side of Coast. If they have to blindly face check anything, and not enough magic resistance has come out on any member of Coast to be able to survive a full combo from Inox and Pobelter.
Yeah, if they use their money to only buy magic resist, I think Pobelter would be able to make that up. Has now bought that needlessly large rod as well. He is very, very strong with that DFG. And of course, having multiplicative statistics like, well, abilities like the DFG and the charm is very, very difficult to mitigate a perfect combo here from Ahri. And we've seen Pobelter today. He's on form with those skill shots.
And Inox has picked up a Sheen, so he's going into full split push mode. He doesn't need any more AP. He's just looking to get as much work done in the bottom lane as possible with that teleport. And if he's matched by only Miracle at this point, I think he can quite easily 1v1 him, although he might be caught out here.
He's a little bit potentially sandwiched. Miracle edging his way around here. Doesn't actually discover Inox, but there's Crepo around the side. Nice buster shot from Mash. He's going to get him to safety. But Helios coming through from the backside. But Sheep being caught out. He just dies. Miracle's going to fall down as well. EG finding the picks they need across this map.
And they don't even need a bait Baron to get a pick right there. You saw how quickly Pobelter was able to blow up Sheep. And Miracle, the tankiest member, didn't last long either.
He certainly didn't. That was Pobelter outrunning the Void Spikes as well from Santora. And he saw Sheep and he was dead. And then he said, oh, I'll react with... Oh, okay, he's gone.
As we see that the pushers are continually coming into the base now, they're at half health on the mid turret. They're going to be able to pick up another free dragon. This is going to be about a 10,000 gold lead at 20 minutes. This is a commanding display by Evil Geniuses.
Yeah, and after seeing Coast's team comp and thinking this is looking really, really scary, EG are just putting on a clinic here of how to destroy the early game.
And you can see it's all through vision. They've denied so much vision in the jungle. They've set up their line of wards so they know exactly where the players on Coast are at all points of the time. And as they back, look how many wards they're picking up continually. The pink wards, the green wards, just ensuring that they have control of the whole of the map at the moment.
Yeah, 3 sweepers as well available. Of course, 4 have been picked up by Coast, but they're going to come back through it. It has given Coast now a time to clear out some of these wards. Of course, not as much blue in their jungle as there was before, but you'd imagine that is definitely about to change as they gear up for a potential Baron bait, Baron dance, as we like to say.
They definitely don't even need it at this point. With the teleport still being up on Inox, he can just continue to split push the bottom lane as Coast is trying to set up their own Fnatic-style gank brush at this point, looking to catch potentially Crepo out, although Pobelter's on the other side. I think he could nearly dive in there and pick a kill up for himself.
Yeah, one Orb of Deception might take all of them down to half health. Very, very scary at this stage. Has finished up a Blasting Wand on top of that needlessly large rod. Oh, Winter Spike going to come through from Crepo, just scouting out those rushes. Now going to be able to clear out these wards, and it is just a vision game at this stage. Pobelter waiting in the wings, seeing whether he can get a Spirit Rush over that wall, and I think EG might be able to just go for this Baron.
And all the meanwhile, Inox is just split pushing in this bottom lane. He's on the turret. They have to send someone back to deal with him. He's just clearing out wave after wave, and this is going to mean a free Baron on the side of EG. They've sent 3 people to the mid lane.
Perfect timing here by EG as well. They immediately know that Coast have backed off, and clear call, we're going for Baron, and that's going to go down. Glacial Fissure coming through for funsies, I think.
That was just an intimidating Glacial Fissure.
Yeah, just in case.
But the vision control's so good, they couldn't even see it, so they're not intimidated at all. They don't know that that's on cooldown.
Yeah, hang on, actually, no. Santorin's level 11, he may have evolved his leap twice. So, no, okay, I don't think you can do that.
Yeah, so now it's an 11,000 gold lead on the side of Evil Geniuses, and they've split up and sent Oltek into the top lane. He's got his Infinity Edge and his Static Shiv at the moment. He's going to be crushing structures down like you would not believe. And
not to mention the wave clear as well. These waves just get pushed in immediately by this guy. 12,000 gold lead though. This is so strong coming out from EG, and as long as they can siege out these turrets with the help of this Baron buff, this game, I just can't see Coast managing to make it through to the late game that they need. But this is where they need to set up their hold, is at this stage. Because if they lose an inhibitor turret, that could almost mean game over.
At this point, I don't see, even if they can stall out for... They'd have to stall out for 20 minutes to win this game. It would have to be an amazing turtle. However, death timers are still relatively short. We're only 23 minutes into the game. But at this point, I think Coast start looking at their next pick ban phase, and EG are obviously wanting to run early game heavy comp. They have a lot of faith in Helios to get their lanes ahead, and they want to crush through the mid and early game. So I don't think you can push a passive as Pobelter.
Oh, that's a death sentence. That's a 2-man shockwave baiting the flash out of Pobelter as well, but Pobelter gets the turret. Oh, that's his whole combo, but he's not going to land the charm. Enough pressure to get Coast away from this inhibitor, and I think that EG might be just far enough ahead because it's a decent effort there by Coast. Oh, the charm's going to land on a Miracle. Has popped that ultimate, but not going to be enough to get him through this one, and it's been EG cracking the turtle shell of Team Coast. Nice clear lance onto Sheep as well, and a couple of other skill shots to follow up.
And it looks like they're just casting spells at the moment. Sheep does catch up. Wow, a nice Unbreakable from Crepo, keeping that ball in place.
And they're going to wait for the minion wave, and look at how much damage to this turret. The inhibitor's going to go down as well. 2 inhibitors down. Over a 14,000 gold lead at this stage as well. EG in so much control, and Coast, it's only 25 minutes into this game. There's super creeps now. Those things are so strong. They're supposed to be coming out at like 35 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. And this is what we were saying pre-game. This does not look like a 7th place North American split team. They are playing so well.
Exactly.
And Coast are a good challenger team. Their bottom lane particularly that we've seen a lot of, Mash and Sheep, are 2 LCS caliber players. They're amazing, but just the coordination and ability to get ahead in the early game has really set up what is a perfect game nearly on the side of Evil Geniuses.
Not to mention the fact that in Super Week, of course, EG managed to go 4-0, and that was against 2 teams that are now going to Worlds. So these guys definitely a fantastic team. But Coast, they were very far ahead of the challenger scene through most of it. Of course, coming through 3rd in the end, but they were fantastic, and maybe Miracle and Ringer just need to have a little bit of a warm-up to get into this one. I'm not going to count them out just yet.
Definitely not. And I would expect for the picks to come through that they would have a more aggressive mid lane. We've seen how well Pobelter can play on an aggressive champion against a passive lane. He just felt like he couldn't be ganked. So they need to get some kill potential mid lane to try and upset his flow into the game. He's played with 3-1 and 5 at Death Cap now and another blasting rod. He could, yeah, he's very, very strong.
Yep, and Crepo employing the CLGU tactics, making sure they take every single objective possible on this map before they win the game. Oh, Inox unable to get the Lich Bane proc, but of course these turrets not going to be long for this world with the current abilities of these champions.
And the super minions have started to flood in. You mentioned how strong they are at this point in the game, and the 3rd next inhibitor turret is going down, and they're looking to fight.
Oh,
wow,
Sheep is just dead straight up. There's the Glacial Fissure coming through as well. Miracle now the only one in this fight. Shockwave only hits Crepo, unfortunately. And yeah, Flash is going out across the board. I think the Coast know that this one's over. Definitely keeping their sense of humor, though, in this one. As the Nexus turrets do go down, Ringer gets put through the ringer on that one. And the Nexus gets the focus finally, and EG with a dominating performance in that game.
Wow, what a game coming out of EG. They played that pick comp so well.
Oh, yeah.
And we've seen how ineffectively Ari can be played, and now how effectively she can be played.
Ari's just been getting better and better as things have gone on. She had a pretty woeful day 1, but of course Nick picking her up today, and then Pobelter. I don't even. That first team fight was just fantastic in that bottom lane.
And because of the kill potential, we're talking about mid lane so much, but across the map, they just continued to go even. When they got into the team fighting phases, we saw that first team fight, the teleport in from Inox to get him ahead, what was a reasonably even lane. They just played so coordinated that, yeah, it was an amazing team game to watch.
Exactly, and communication seemed a little bit off. Of course, that first teleport coming in a little bit late there by Miracle, so maybe just getting into it. You know, if they manage to finalize some of that synergy and the communication issues, then they might be able to sort things out. But in Coast's favor, that bottom lane did fantastically early on.
Yeah, their bottom lane looks super solid, and it looks solid all of the challenger split.
Yeah.
They can go toe-to-toe with anyone. As I said, they're both fantastic former LCS players, of course, XDD and Coast respectively. So look for them to once again be very solid, but they need to get Santorin into the solo lanes and stop some of that bleeding.
Yeah, they really do, and I think Helios will not get Lee Sin again. This whole that's what I'm calling, because it was banned out in the last best of 5, of course. Diamond Proc's a fantastic Lee Sin player, and putting a lot of emphasis on that champion, that was a lot of what got them their early lead.
Yeah, and Lee Sin with Helios, he just, with being able to pick up an early Sightstone in a normal build pass, got them so much of their map control, and then just able to pick up that triple kill, catapult himself ahead, and just use that even further to take complete control of the Santorin's jungle.
Yeah, we'll see where the Coast can turn it around. But for more on EG's decisive win, let's send it over to Dash and Company at the desk.
Thanks, Atlas. I don't think it comes as any surprise. That's kind of what we talked about on the desk. We predicted this EG to come out, show up, and step up and play this type of game today.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the thing I'd like to touch upon this game was the fact that it all came down to that one fight. Really nothing else mattered. Now, in the beginning of the game, I was worried for EG because the game was going very slow. Nobody had made any moves anywhere, and Coast had a very late game scaling composition. Now they go for the 4-man tower dive bottom. It gets spotted. It gets spotted way before it even begins in the banana brush, and nobody reacts to it. Coast makes no move.
Let me actually stop because we'll pull up the replay since since you're prefacing it fantastically, but we might as well get the replay up on the screen for everyone at home, and that way I'll let you just carry it through here.
So we saw EG get into this position, walking by the river through a pink ward, and now it's very obvious that Coast wants to do something about this, and they just don't. The bot lane collapses late. They could have made it before EG's bot lane gets there. TP comes in sooner from EG. Now, Maokai can always teleport to the Thresh Lantern. They could have coordinated that. Throw a Thresh Lantern out, have Maokai TP into it, and collapse. The only reason I could see them being a little hesitant, Lee Sin and Ahri are very mobile champions, and going for a TP planet may be a little bit risky. But at this point, TP down, just take Dragon. There was a lack of communication in there. They needed to know that either you're going for this or you're not, and everybody just leaves and just forget about it. But they didn't. They kind of committed halfway through, and they ended up paying for it because Ori got hit with a charm, and then from then on, that game was just completely snowballed, and it's over.
Now, is this indecision, though? Is this the indecision and the lack of synergy that we're seeing, bringing in the two new players and maybe not coming to as quick of a conclusion as they needed to pick that fight?
Yeah, I think they needed to be the ones that were acting on it. They had an advantage in information going into that situation. Ahri crossed a pink ward, and she didn't see that the pink ward was in there. So if they just were prepared for it, they're all waiting for Powelter and Helios to get in that vulnerable position, and they immediately act on it. They try to Oriole preemptively. They try to TP in first. They can win that fight because it's in their jungle on their terms. If you can't win a fight where people are blindly invading your jungle when you have information that they're coming and they don't, I don't think you can win the series.
All right. Well, we did already mention, though, that pretty much the entire game came down to that fight because it was such a huge swing in both momentum and gold for EG. They pretty systematically closed it out, which was to no surprise. So then the big question is, what is going on in Coast communication for the rest of that game? Because I feel like they have to be aware of the fact that the game is going to be over. Now they're looking forward into the next 2 games.
I think something that Coast can do is actually play towards, if they're not comfortable playing situations that they have to have a lot of teamwork and communication in it, avoid those situations. Like, for instance, if they're not comfortable when EG walks into their jungle as 2 blind, if you don't feel like, you know what, I don't really trust my teammates to do this, call it off. Just be like, okay, ward it and leave. And then you can come back when they leave so you're safe again. Just avoid that kind of situation. And go take something else. Just play an objective game, a trading objective game. They go do that, go take a turret somewhere else. Go push middle, go invade the jungle. Just avoid EG when EG is like grouping up and trying to create something happen. Like the team that EG had has to make something happen early. If you can just dodge that and trade objectives, you're going to get through the early phase. You're going to get to the late game, which is what they wanted to do with that team composition. And then it's a lot much easier to be grouped as 5, and then you know what the decisions are making. In the laning phase, making quick decisions like a TP, are we ganking here? What wards do we need? How are we going to collapse on this situation in the jungle where it's a very tricky place with ramps, with all these brushes? Just avoid that altogether and just stick to making it at a laning phase and then team fight if that's the team comp you're going for. Because we saw what EG wanted to have. They wanted to have more of an early game aggressive. They want to use that communication advantage against Coast. And if Coast can't keep it up, then they're going to get swiped.
We do have to give credit to Coast for their individual play in that early portion of the game. That was 9 minutes into the game. But for those first 9 minutes, all of their solo lanes were holding even. We had Maokai into a Lulu, keeping up in CS. We had the bot lane of Mash and Sheep holding up against Altec and Krepo. That's our featured matchup. And those are, that's considered one of the stronger bot lanes in NA at the time. And so we have to give credit to them individually. Is the solution now, as Crumb's poised to go into Champion Select, say, hey, we're going to choose again, we're going to choose strong laners, maybe late game scalers, and hold off on the team fight as long as possible, and then rely on our individual mechanics to outplay them later in the game?
Yeah, I think if that's your philosophy, then you just don't go for team fight champions. Like, why are you going to pick Orianna there when you can just pick Syndra and have one-shot potential by yourself? Like, Syndra does not need the team to follow up on everything she does. She can sit there, wait for the Ahri to come into the jungle and just one-shot the Ahri. And then the fight's easy. Then everyone will know what to do. It's like, oh, we're just chasing them down, just TP in, use your stuns, like, go hard. That's an easy fight to win. But when you have to coordinate a TP, an Orianna ult, Kha'Zix leaping in. Like it's too much for them right now.
I think we just like Syndra too much.
Yeah, I love it.
Syndra's the theme of the day today.
It's called being a jungler, man. When you're a jungler and you gank a Syndra and she already has spells used and she just turns around and one-shots you, that's when you start hating Syndra. That's when you start thinking that Syndra's the best champion in the game.
She might be the answer. You know, we've posed the question. Let's see if any of the teams follow through on it and prove us to be right there in that remark. We're going into game 2. It was a decisive victory for EG. EG's looking very strong, so we have to give them credit for the fact that they made one very good team play, and then they systematically closed it out. So is that something that they're going to be able to continue to do? Or do we think that there will be an option for Coast to disrupt that, maybe through champions like by taking away Helios's Lee Sin, where he can make decisive engages and plays around the map?
I don't see it happening. I know that in the regular season, when EG gets ahead, they stay ahead. Like, they are very good at the vision control and making sure that you feel that they're in your jungle everywhere. And their vision control when ahead is very strong. Like, it is one of the best. So if Coast gives up an early lead again, I don't see any chance that they're going to be able to break EG open again and try to make a comeback.
Okay. Yeah, things are looking a little grim after that loss there for Coast, but we are going to take a quick break, and then we'll see if Evil Geniuses can keep the momentum going in Game 2 versus Team Coast. Don't touch that mouse. The Spring Promotion Tournament continues after this.
Fucking Syndra.
Guys, you know every time Ori is played, they've won?
Really?
Yeah.
So they never lost to Ori?
No team has lost with Ori.
Ori won every single game, so don't let us down, Toto.
But a nice charm's going to land on the Ringer. There's Helios coming in. A nice shockwave comes down, but Ringer's still going to die. Pobelt has got exhausted. We'll see whether he can get the damage down. Sheep now. There's the Sonic Wave. Resonating strike as well. Helios right into the back line, of course.
Inhibitor turret is going down, and they're looking to fight.
Wow, Sheep is just dead straight up. There's the Glacial Fissure coming through as well. Miracle now the only one in this fight.